What is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to my channel, Brian the Floridian, coming to you from Tampa, Florida, more specifically downtown Tampa, right on the corner of Madison and North Franklin Street. And there's a place I want to check out right here behind me. It's right in that building on the first floor, and it's the Tampa Police Museum, which is for dedicated to fallen police officers, right over there. And I've been wanting to check it out for a while, and today is the day I am here, so I'm gonna go inside and check it out. I want you guys to follow me, so you guys follow me. So there's some windows here along the bottom floor of the Tampa Police Department, which is right up there. That's actually the whole police department in this whole building. And right below on the first floor is a museum. It's called the Tampa Police Department Museum right there. There's some old retro pictures of the police museum. Some officers right there. So pretty cool. There's a memorial right here in front dedicated to the officers lost in the line of duty right there. So pardon me for the noise. It is a busy downtown area, but right here, here's a roll of honor with some officers' names added to it. All the way from 1895 down to 2010. David L. Curtis on June 29th, 2010. So this is the museum right here. Memorial right in the front. I believe that's one of the first officers there is Town Marshal Joseph S. Walker, who was killed in the performance of his duties on September 25th, 1915. And one of the officers recently that passed away, Officer Juan Nalles, from the city of West Tampa. So there's the monument right there. There's some, looks like some equipment there, some bronzed paraphernalia there from law enforcement, a hat. Looks like a walkie-talkie, a bobby stick, and a pistol there. Really cool. And on the other side, there also is another, looks like a roll of honor on this side with some other officers. Alright guys, so inside the museum, and the first thing I come about is this Tampa Police Museum robot, and this was used for the Crime Prevention Bureau. Looks like from the 80s, I believe. And here's a time capsule from 1961 from the old Tampa Police headquarters on 1710 Tampa Street. So imagine me right inside this opening right here. And here's an old Tampa police helicopter from 1974. a Hughes 300. And what's cool is the lady that works here in the museum actually flew in this helicopter. She was a police officer. She said she was scared out of her wits flying inside this little bubble with a lawnmower engine. As she describes it, which it is very small. And it was part of the Sky Patrol. And there's several badges from different police departments around the country right here. Looks like some badges from Texas right there. Different parts, different states. It's pretty interesting. And what's cool is they have this U.S. Marshal badge right over here. Maybe a badge from a different era, time era. And back against the wall right there is a bunch of patches, police patches that police visitors from other states would trade with this museum. They would give them their patch from their department, and they would take one of the Tampa Police Department's patches and trade, and that's what they look like. They're all displayed right there. The Rochester, New York Police Department. Pretty impressive collection of patches right there. And this placard kind of commemorates the opening of this museum. And that is the curator right there, retired Lieutenant Bobby Pennington. Looks like him with the mayor, I believe in 1998 when they opened this museum. It was one of the old Tampa Police Department uniforms. There's some more badges there. Looks like different police departments. There's a Chicago one right there. Looks like Boston. Yeah, sorry for the glare, but it is quite sunny outside, and these displays are made out of glass. So what's interesting is that memorial outside is this gentleman right here was responsible for etching the names of every Tampa Police Department officer that was unfortunately killed in the line of duty there. But this gentleman right here, Cecil Murray, and looks like he passed away in 2013. Yeah, maybe a little robot, I'm not sure what this is, but it's a little police department car. Kind of like the style of the movie Cars, Disney Cars, but it's more like a, I guess, for educational purposes. And here's some lockers from 1961 from the old museum. They used to be on 1710 Tampa Street. So, reading this, the officers back then had to actually change into their uniforms in these lockers and then change out when they left at the end of their shift. They were not permitted to wear their uniforms home, as well as take their assigned police vehicles back to their homes either. Alright, so here is the time capsule that was at the front. This is the box that was inside. Looks like some old photos of the old Tampa Police Department headquarters. Looks like some old letters there. Looks like some of the contents are right here. So this was a building that was on Tampa Street back in 1961. Here's another uniform from the Tampa Police Department. I believe this one is from maybe 80s or 1990s. And what's interesting is they have these hats here from different police departments around the world. Some riot helmets. So what's interesting, they had an old police box, which was the method of communication between a police officer and headquarters back in the day. They didn't have the phones nowadays they have, or the computers to notify a police department. They would just use these old call boxes on the streets. And this is what it looks like right here. And this one was used by Officer Morris D. Lopez on his daily walking beat in New York City, Florida. Alright, so I'm going to be walking into the memorial room right here, which honors the fallen officers here. So I believe these are all the officers that were unfortunately killed in the line of duty right here. And some of these go as far back as, I believe, as 1905. So there are 30 recorded police officers here killed in line of duty from as far back as 1905, looks like, but that is recorded, but I'm sure there could be more. But here's the most recent officer that passed away, Officer Jesse P. Madsden, March 2021. Also, Officer Jeffrey A. Kokab. Many of them are too young, pretty young, to have passed. What's interesting is that there's also this book right here below the monument that talks about each officer, about what happened basically, and all the different names. So right here it says since 1895 there have been 32 Tampa police officers who have been killed in the line of duty. So definitely two more than what I've previously said. And this is the very first one that they recorded here. Officer James John McCormick, September 28, 1895. So this book gives a brief synopsis about each officer. And these are the most recent officers here that were recorded. Alright, here's more of the room right here. In the Fallen Heroes room. Looks like an officer's funeral in these pictures. Sorry guys, it got a little bit noisy in here. Some of the people that came in the museum were kind of talking loudly, so I'm going to show you these hats that I came across in this part of the museum. They're different hats from different eras of Tampa Police Department. And there's also a few riot hats, handcuffs there, as you can see right there. And looks like some batons and some old style hats right there in that case. And looks like another riot helmet there with a face shield. But pretty interesting collection of police hats. And they had police hats from other parts of the world, as you can tell right there, from Japan and other different nations around the world. But very interesting. And I believe there's a West Germany hat right there in front right there in that case. But pretty interesting seeing all these different hats from across the world displayed in this case. But you know, that's one of the things that is really cool about this museum. You get to see a little bit of everything, not just Tampa Police Department you know, hats, but other departments too. Alright, what's cool about this picture is it was taken in the early 1900s and taken at the turn of the century in front of the old Tampa Police Headquarters located on Florida Avenue and Jackson Street. And there's the old Tampa Police Department force right there. With the old style hats and uniforms. And as you can tell, mustaches were the thing back in the day, right there. The old handlebar mustache. So what I'm about to show you is this huge collection of criminal paraphernalia from this young man that passed away in 1960 from a car accident, Andrew Lee Wade. He was the son of Mr. and Mrs. Edward Wade, and they were prominent people from Tampa. And he collected all these fingerprints, all these crime, criminal wanted posters, and his, he just collected all these things from all across the country. And that's what I'm going to show you right here. There's a few people. That's a picture of him right there, Andrew Wade, before he met his untimely end. And some of the fingerprints from his collection, he had a huge, extensive collection that he donated. His family donated to the Tampa Police Department. And some of these people are famous. Some of the criminals here are just normal criminals you see in, across the country, different police departments, but some of them are famous. I believe he had Machine Gun Kelly. There were some fingerprints and wanted posters from Pretty Boy Floyd, which I believe is coming up shortly, but also Bonnie and Clyde, and I think also he had some fingerprints and wanted posters from also the Mall Baker gang. But as you can see, that's the whole collection there. It's along that glass wall, and it's pretty extensive. So for him to go around and collect this stuff was really, really interesting that he actually did this, you know, for being a young person, a young man that was interested in criminology. But he did this as a hobby, and this is what he basically collected all through his young life. And there's some fingerprints right there, I believe, of, I think that's one of the famous criminals there. Also, there's you know, these pictures also have, you know, wanted for murder. These fingerprints of different criminals that are, you know, just sort of normal criminals, also from across each department. And there's a few Tampa Police Department criminals also listed right here. But pretty extensive collection here. And I'm doing the voiceover because it got really loud in this museum, because people were in there talking real loud and socializing. So, but this is what they did back in the day. Each police department would have these on file, and there is Pretty Boy Floyd right there. One of his wanted pictures and fingerprints listed right there. But pretty extensive collection. And I think that's Alvin Karpis. He was one of the guys from the gang of the Mall Baker gang. He was one of the main figures in that gang that did a lot of the kidnapping and murders back in the day. But pretty interesting. And this goes on for, this is on like almost like 3 different glass walls. But I believe that is Clyde Barrows, I believe, from Bonnie and Clyde. And some of these criminals look pretty, you know, pretty made up, pretty well for the pictures, pretty dressed up. Some of them were pretty dressed down. I believe that's Bonnie right there. And she obviously looks really good for that picture. And John Dillinger, I believe that's his fingerprints in his picture. And that's Al Capone. So pretty extensive collection from Mr. Wade. And it just goes on and on. There's Alvin Karpis again, a wanted poster. $5,000 wouldn't be is a lot of money back in the day. Probably not so much now, even though I wouldn't mind having that much. But there's Pretty Boy Floyd. But some of these rewards are kind of funny on how much they actually pay off. And those are a couple guns there. Which one is real, which one is not? That's one of those is a fake gun. That's the AR-15, I believe, right in that case. Looks like some kind of shotgun.
And it's a $2,000 pickup. If you stay in that road, I would be like 10 or 15 minutes. So, it's a no-brainer. 6 months after I retired. I know, I haven't gotten work.
So here's a picture of the tombstone of Officer John McCormick, who passed away in 1895. And that's what it would have looked like. I believe they have his old tombstone here in the museum. As you can tell, the top of it is broken off, but that is definitely the old Tombstone. So very strange that it's actually here in the museum. I'm not sure if they replaced it with a new Tombstone, but pretty cool. So here's an old bomb retrieval machine or robot that they use to get the old bombs, pull the old bombs away from different areas, facilities. So remote control bomb robot, that's what they would call this. And this is one of the older ones, I believe. That's what the lady was telling me. The volunteer here at the museum, who was also a former police officer. And there is the bomb vest that we wear, the material, and the helmet right there. And looks like some recovery dive gear. And here's one of my favorite parts of the museum, is all the guns that they on display that they've retrieved, I believe. Maybe some guns that the police department had used at one time. Some of these are actually police issued firearms, but some of these are illegal too, as you can tell by that sawed-off shotgun right there. It looks like an old Tommy gun up there, an old variation of the Tommy gun. And there is an actual Thompson machine gun here, which was popular from the 1920s and 1950s. And this was seized from 1920s gangster Roger the Terrible Tula. And they also have an old World War II M1 Springfield rifle up there on display, which is pretty interesting there. Alright, so here's a Dictaphone Recorder, which would maintain and record all the 911 calls on reels back in the day. So as you can tell, it's a pretty big piece of equipment right here. There's some old police lights up there on the wall. As well, in this case, there's some old police vehicle communications here, or phones, I believe, walkie-talkies they would use in the squad cars back in the day. That's some old pictures there. Old picture of the Tampa Police Department. Looks like the old paddy wagon right there. And that's the original police headquarters that was demolished a few years ago. There is Lieutenant John Carter with the Tampa Police Vehicle number 2. Old photography there. (1920s). And there's some old, looks like some other old communication devices here that they used back in the patrol cars. Walkie-talkies. And wow, how the computers evolved. So these are the laptops that they use in the patrol cars nowadays. But that's one of the first ones there from 1990s. And talking to the volunteer when she was a police officer, she said that when these first came out, she can write her report faster than these computers can record it. So they have come a long way. There's one of the newer laptops there that they have in the police vehicles there. They even have a police go-kart here, or actually golf cart. With one of the old uniforms. Some more old pictures from the 1960s here. And here's another picture of the old, looks like group photo from the 1948. As well as 1921. This is the group photo of all the officers back from that year. And there is a few of the African American officers here in the police department. This little area that they're dedicated to. Here's several different batons through the years. And that is a shillelagh. That's not really, I'm not sure if that's one of the things that police officers used to carry, but I believe that's from just for display only. But these are all the police batons behind it. Really interesting looking how they got progressed during the years. So they even have the old jail cell block door from the old police department from the 1960s here on display. And thing is really heavy. Definitely heavy. Yeah, I definitely want to be on this side of the cell. Feels like it's made out of cast iron, but it's definitely durable. I don't see anybody breaking out of this thing here. So this talks about the call boxes back in during the early part of the century with the Tampa Police Department. And that's what they would issue to the officers, was a key to the call box as well as a whistle. And that was donated by some family of a former officer. So this is the call box right in front of me, number 37, and on the wall next to it shows you how they would use them with these officers on foot patrol. Looks like he's got a baton in his hand, walking the beat using the call box. And they also even have the Chicago Police Department call box from the 1940s right there.
So right in front of me is a 1988 Dodge Diplomat. This certain one was the talking police car called Sergeant Trusty, which they would use for kids for on-site educational programs. It would actually talk to the kids. There would be like a little remote control voice thing inside the car that would talk to kids. But talking to the volunteer, this is one of the most reliable cars they had. Very reliable, very safe, built like a tank, and also very comfortable inside, and pretty easy to fix from what I understand from the volunteer. But this is what the volunteer that worked here, this is what the kind of car that she actually drove in on patrol. And pretty nice car, pretty reliable, a lot of room inside, and very safe from what she told me. Definitely a safe car. And coming toward the end of it, this is what's at the end of the museum is this McGruff. This is a robot, actually, a McGruff robot that would come out for kids programs. And here's a police bike, Tampa Police Department police bike right here with the officer uniform, and this is what they would use for police patrol, or on the motorcycle patrol. But pretty cool that they have this at the end.
Alright guys, that's going to do it for the video. Thanks for following me with my tour of the Tampa Police Department Museum. Pretty cool place. I've been wanting to check this place out for a while, but definitely a lot to see in there. It's free also. They take donations if you want to leave a donation, by the way. But really cool, very friendly volunteer that was in there. She showed me a lot of stuff, gave me a lot of insight about the museum. So in lieu of a donation, I bought this shirt which is dedicated to the fallen officers here that were killed in the line of duty, and it goes all the way from the very first one, just like the memorial to the very last officer that passed away, Jesse Masden, in March 9, 2021. So very nice shirt. This is the back of it. The front of it has the little emblem. I'll show you guys right there. In honor of of our fallen officers, United in Honor, Tampa Police Department. So pretty cool. Pretty cool shirt, and also awesome dedication to those fallen officers that give their lives in the line of duty for us every day. Alright guys, that's going to do it for the end of the video. Thanks for watching. If you like this video, hit like on the like button. Hit subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet. And I will do some more stops all over Florida just for you guys. But anyway, guys, stay safe. Hope you have a good week. And take care.